In this video, we'll go over services, what they are, when to use them, and why they exist. Hey everyone, and welcome to the services episode in the architecture series that covers the stacked architecture. To follow along with a written tutorial at your own pace, head over to FilledStacks.com and open up the services in code tutorial. So today I would like to demystify what services are, or service classes as they are also called. A service or a service class is a plain and simple class object. It is a class that is created to perform a service for your user. This service can be anything from opening the camera, sharing information, fetching information, creating a post, or keeping track of your post, to interact with your database, or anything that does actual work. Basically, if you use the service pattern, whatever you need to do will be done by a service. Views take in the user's input and shows them the state of the view model. When the user wants to do something, the view then goes to the view model and says, "Could you please do this thing for the user?" Then the view model will go to a service and say, "Can you please do this thing for me and tell me when you're done with it?" The service then does the actual thing, whether that is to save something to a database or to request information, and then returns that results to the user through the view model. So I keep talking about doing a thing, so let's define when to create a service. Let's go over the 3 specific scenarios in which I create a service in my current architecture. The first one is when you want to abstract third-party packages from your code base. The second one is when you have a set of features that can be grouped together using the single responsibility principle. And the third one is when you want to share functionality or state between view models. Just some notes that I would also like to cover is that a service class does not have to end in the word service. For instance, when I create an API, that's often called just API, but it also is a service class because it provides a service of the REST functionality to the app. So let's start with the abstracting of third-party packages through a service. You can download the code from FilledStacks.com. It's under the thumbnail image where it says download code. You can also download the code from the download the starting project link under the abstract third-party packages header. Once you have the code, you can open it up and get all of the packages from the pubspec.yaml file. Once all the packages are fetched, you can run the flutter pub run build runner build command, which will generate all of the code required to run the project. Now that we have the project set up, you can open up the image picker view model. So as you can see in this view model, we import the image picker package and then we call the image picker.pickImage and use it directly in the view model. This code probably looks perfectly fine. It's also not a lot of code, but the way you should look at things like this is that your view model and your business logic now has a hard dependency on a third-party package. You don't want any hard dependencies because it will make your unit testing extremely difficult and your business logic will depend on the implementation details of another package. It also provides you with an abstraction, which means that when you do swap out this package, your current business logic and unit test will still stay the same. To show you how difficult it is to test something with a hard dependency, we'll look at a simple test that we'd like to perform when doing a unit testing test suite. Let's look at a simple example where I can show you how difficult it makes your code to test when you have a hard dependency in your view model. So with this test, all we want to do is check that when we call select image on the view model, that it requests the image using from gallery true. So at this moment, we actually can't test this because we can't mock out the image selection, but it also has a hard dependency on the Flutter ecosystem, meaning that the test won't even run because the Flutter bindings hasn't been set up yet. This will be the same for all of the packages that is registered as a Flutter plugin that makes use of the method channel. So to remove this dependency from your code, we will use a principle called dependency inversion. This principle states, and this is in my own words, that classes that perform actions or functionality should not depend on the classes doing the work. It should depend on an abstraction of that class. It sounds like they are saying we should be creating a service instead of using the actual package in our code directly. So inside the services folder, create a new file called media service, and inside create a class called media service that is annotated with lazy singleton from the injectable package. The service will have a function that returns a future of type file called getImage, and it will take in a named parameter called fromGallery. The body of this function, it will simply return the result from the picImage function, and the source that is passed in will be determined by the fromGallery value. When the fromGallery value is true, we'll pass in imageSource.gallery, and when it's false, we'll pass in imageSource.camera. And since we are using the injectable package, you have to make sure that you generate your code using the Flutter pub run build runner build command. You can also do a normal service registration by going to your locator file and calling locator.register lazy singleton and passing it an instance of the media service. So head over to the image picker view model where we'll now make use of this service. At the top of the file, we'll create a new final variable called media service, and we'll retrieve this media service from the locator using the media service type. Then you can head down to the select image function, and you can replace the image picker library with the media service.getImage call. And you can pass in the fromGallery value that's passed into the select image function. And once that's done, you can go back to the image picker view model test. Since this video is not about unit testing, I'll just quickly set up a mock for that media service. Then we can register that media service mock with our locator, and we can verify that the getImage call was called on the media service when we call the select image function. And if we run this test now, you should see that the test passes, which indicates that we have a unit test working. The next video will be about unit testing your view models and services, so that'll be it for the testing for now. Moving on to the next reason why I create services is when I want to group together features using the single responsibility principle. This principle states that we keep code together that change for the same reason, and we separate the code that doesn't. For this example, you can open up the API example folder and look through the view models in that folder. So if you look at the comments view model, you'll see that it's a type of future view model and returns a list of comments. And in the future to run, we request the information from the JSON placeholder, pass that information, and then return the comments. For the posts view model, we do the exact same thing. And we do the same thing for the user view model as well. You're basically telling all of these view models that it is their responsibility to request information from an API and serialize it and then set it as the return value for this view model. That should not be the case. And another thing is, if you wanted to add a custom header to all of these requests, you could go ahead and set it in the actual request where you set this value and then you copy and paste these headers into all of the other requests. But what if you wanted to add some functionality globally for all of your requests, where when you get a status code of 444, you show a force update dialog. When you get a status code of 404, you refresh your token. And when you get a status code of 420, you show the login dialog again. Having all of this functionality written out and completed would probably be a lot more than the 6 lines you see here. So pasting this everywhere would cause a lot of duplicated code and then would make your code not dry, which is obvious, but then also make it very difficult to maintain. So you can look at the responsibilities of all of these view models, which is requesting information from the API and then serializing that. And we can take all of those responsibilities, since they will all change for the exact same reason, and move those into a service class called API. So under the services folder, create a new Dart file called API. And inside of this file, create a new class called API, which we will annotate with the lazy singleton annotation. Then we can basically just move the bodies of the future to run functions for these view models and put it into functions on the API. The first function will be a future that returns a list of comments. We'll call this function getCommentsForPost, and it will take in a post ID. We will then paste the body of the function that we just copied, and we'll import all of the relevant imports for that code. The next function we will do is from the posts view model. You can cut out the code from the future to run function. Then we'll create a new function in the API file that returns a list of posts. This function will be called getPostsForUser, and it will take in an integer called user ID. And then we can paste the code that we copied from the posts view model, and we can import all of the relevant packages and files. And lastly, we'll do the same with the user view model, and we'll put that into a function in the API class called getUserProfile, which returns a feature of type user. You can paste in the code that you cut and import the relevant files. Since all of these requests go to the same URL, we can extract the endpoint URL into a static const variable at the top of the class and paste the JSON placeholder base URL in there. Then we can replace the values in the strings with endpoint, which will make it easier for us to swap out our endpoint at any point during development. We can also create one HTTP client at the top of our file and then use that for the requests throughout the API. Now when you go back to your view models, all you'll do is you'll simply get the API from the locator and then you'll call the relevant function on that API. For the user view model, we'll call getUserProfile and pass in the user ID. For the posts view model, we will get the API from the locator and then we'll call the getPostsForUser function. And for the comments view model, we will do the same and call getCommentsForPost and pass in the post ID. The next reason to create a service is to share state or functionality between your view models. In the codebase, there is another posts view model, which is in the posts view folder. Let's say, for instance, in this post view model, we will make use of the API that we just created. So at the top of the file, create an API variable and get that from the locator. Then for the future to run, we'll call the getPostsForUser and pass in the user ID 3. This will now get the post for the user and then store it as the data object for this post view model. So what if you want to access the posts for user number 3 from another view model? That is where the service comes in. Instead of getting the post directly from the API, you will make use of a service that gets the post, stores it locally, which can then be injected into other view models where you can make use of the posts. And before we continue, I just want to share how much code has been removed when using the stacked view model. The code above will get the data from the API. It will set the view model to busy while it is getting that data. So you can show your loading indicators or whatever you want to show. When that data is returned, it will be stored in the data property for this view model that you can access within the view. If any error is thrown within the function that you are providing to run as a future, it will handle that error accordingly and store it in an error object. You will then have the has error property to indicate your UI that there's an error in the code. You can also then override the onError function, which will get the same error that's been thrown through your exceptions, where you can then show custom dialogues or perform any type of custom functionality you want to. That's all handled within 2 lines of code as you see above. I just wanted to brag a little bit about the stacked boilerplate savings. So let's get back to the example at hand. So let's create that view model that will want access to the posts that's kept within the posts view model. We'll create a file under the posts example called postCountViewModel. This will be a class that extends the base view model. Now to move on to the service section, in the services folder, create a post service file. And inside of that file, we'll create a new class called postService. This file will get the API from the locator using the locator call functionality. And it will store some state locally in the form of a list of posts. We will expose this list of posts through a public getter called posts. We'll also create a public Boolean property called hasPosts. This will check if the posts is not equal to null and if the posts is not empty. And then for the main functionality, we will create a function that returns a future of type list of posts. This function will be called getPostsForUser and it will take in an integer called user ID. The body of this function will simply get the posts from the API using the user ID and return that posts after it has set it to the local state posts value. Now back in the posts view model, we can get the posts service from the locator and then we simply change the API class to the post service and still call the same function on it. What this does is that it will now locally store the state of that request in the post service, which now makes it usable for us within other view models. So now over on the post count view model, We can get the post service through the locator, get the posts from the property we created, and then get the length on that posts. This will basically now reflect the exact same state for the posts view model as well as for the posts count view model. So there are a few different types of services, and I am thinking of ways to properly place them in the folder structure to make that clear as well. One thing that I have in mind is that services that perform functionalities from third-party libraries should be placed in a folder called functional services, whereas services like the post service that saves state for the application should be placed in a services folder called state services. Currently, the FilledStacks development team is not doing this, and I'm thinking of asking all the devs to try it out, but I haven't thought it through too much, or I haven't used it, so I won't recommend it just yet. It's just an example of something that I would like to think about in terms of file placement as well. If you have any suggestions with file naming or file placement like the ones that I just spoke about now, please let me know in the comments and I'll get to it and make a consideration of adding that into the next video. That is it for the services video on when to create services and why they exist. It helps you to make your code look like you didn't actually write any code, and I think it's a very good thing because of the readability of the code. I'll see you in the next video, which will cover unit testing your view models and services. Thank you for watching.